Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizical, where we do everything card making. And today I am catching up on my holiday card hijinks hashtag for March, because I was sick last month, so I missed putting a video out. The prompt was magical, and to me, magical means snow globes. I know snow globes was a prompt last year, but I had this idea to use the Mama Elephant Little Agenda Fairies along with the Lawn Fawns Snow Globe. I think it's called Build a Snow Globe die set. And I just wanted to build like this kind of like magical scene inside the snow globe. I found this pattern paper I had. It's from a Michaels like cardstock pack that I bought a couple years ago, I think. And it was a full 12 by 12 sheet. It had some like white trees around the bottom, and then the top area had some snowflakes, but since I cut it up for card panels, some of the areas just got snowflakes, some of them just got trees and a little bit of snowflakes. So I thought that this would be perfect because it kind of makes it so I don't need to make a background for the snow globe and makes it look a little bit more clear like a regular snow globe would be. And I already had the frame of the snow globe already cut out, so I'm just cutting out the extra pieces I wanted to do. Because I'm adding in the layer of snow on the inside, I wanted there just to be an extra layer of the snow globe frame, so I just cut an extra one just so that they weren't on the same level and it was a little bit more raised. And then I'm just going to glue these together and stick it right on the card without adding any backing to it, because again, the snow on the background will help fill in like the sky and the snow. I am going to add a little bit more snow to it at the end of the video, but that was kind of like a last minute decision to add some controlled snow in between in both the glitter pen and the acrylic paint that I usually use. So right now I'm just trying to find placement. Usually with the snow globes, I don't like to send them like smack dab in the middle. I like to put them up a little bit higher. I think the only time I would put maybe in the direct middle would be if I had the sentiment on the snow globe itself. But this one, I was actually planning on not adding one and just still leaving it a bit higher. But I decided last minute to add one, so you'll see that in a bit. But I'm just adding in the little hill piece that I cut out of the part that gets cut out of the inside of the frame. And I'm just adding some Stardust clear jelly roll pen to the top of the snow just to add a little bit of sparkle, which I do quite often, especially for snow. It just gives it that little bit of sparkle. And I think I've mentioned this in previous videos, but my favorite time to look at the snow is actually at nighttime when the streetlights are on and you can just like see that like shimmer that the snow has. I love that. It makes it so much more magical, which helps with this month's prompt as well. So to create the scene, I added the little bit of snow on the inside. I'm adding this larger tree. I left the trees attached. There's like a smaller one and a larger one, just because I don't want to take apart all the dies. If I can keep dies together as much as possible, I do that now. And then I just cut them in white cardstock because I was going to color them with my markers anyway. You could definitely cut these apart and then cut them out of cardstocks and then just leave it at that, but I like the dimension that you get when you color them in with either alcohol markers or colored pencils or both. So I decided to do that instead. Plus it helps me use up like the little bit of white scraps on the inside. I definitely could have cut these separately and then kept that inner piece for another card, but I'm gonna have to cut the frame again anyway because I only have one black frame from the Christmas/Halloween card that I did last year with it. So it was just best to use it up now. And the base of the tree is covered for this like the stump. They like make this like mini piece at the back just so you can color the stump differently. But it leaves the rest of it not on the same level. It's like cardstock, one layer at the top, 2 layers at the bottom. So I just decided to use that smaller tree cutout to help prop that up. And it worked out well. And then I actually used, I think, the stump, and I cut that into another piece because then by the time I add it to the snow layer, the bottom is at 3 layers high and then the top's at 2, so I had to add another layer anyway. You could just like cut multiples of these trees if you wanted to do that instead of trying to like piece together little scraps. But again, might as well use my scraps while they're here, right? Otherwise they're just gonna go in the bin. And for the base of the snow globe, I'm just cutting it in kind of like a coordinating blue. I tried to like look through my scraps to see what I had. The one I originally picked was a little bit too much on the blue side. Like the background with the snowflakes is a little bit more on the teal side than it shows up on camera here. So I decided to go with this like slightly more greeny tinged cardstock that I had. And I'm going to use that as well as some silver foil cardstock from Michael's Recollections collection. Side note, I just listened to that back and that was a bit of a tongue twister. So try saying that 10 times fast. But anyway, I'm going to do the base of the snow globe in this like light tealy green. And then I'm going to add the silver on the top and bottom. Generally, I do my snow globes like pretty standard like wooden colors, but I thought I would kind of like keep to the theme of the card. The card's like very like light, airy, and it's like almost ethereal looking to me, so I just decided to keep that. I mean, if I did a wooden base like with the brown that I used for the tree stump, it would definitely give it a different look. It would be much heavier, I think, on the card. I like that there's only that little touch of the dark color, which is why I don't stamp my sentiment in black later as well. I just didn't want anything too stark on this card and wanted to keep it like light and airy and magical. So now I'm just trying to pick my fairies for the background. I'm only going to do 2. I'm not about doing 3, but I feel like with the tree you kind of get that, you know, odd number elements to it, and adding another one might make it look off balance. So I just decided to go with the 2, and the 2 that I decided on are kind of, you know, interacting in the scene somewhat. So my story for this one is the fairy with the wand with the star on the end is like the fairy that places the stars on the Christmas trees, and then the other one's kind of like off kilter, standing, pointing at her, saying, you know, that's where it goes. So she's like her little helper or something. That was my thought process behind this. And I'm just coloring them real quick with a mixture of my Olos and my other alcohol ink markers, because I have so many different brands I have bought over the years. Olos are my favorite, and once I use up my other ones, I will like slowly replace them with the Olo markers because they're very juicy. I love their brush tips, and they just like last a lot longer. Not that the other ones don't last. It depends on how much coloring you're doing too, to be honest, because I've had some of my alcohol markers since I was in college, and I was in college from like 2007 to 2010, and some of those markers are still here and still good. So as long as you take care of them, keep the caps on, and don't dry them out, they'll last you like a very long time. The ones that I have are just colors that I don't use very often, which is why I still have them. But I've definitely gone through quite a few. I used to buy the Prismacolor alcohol markers, but they don't sell those anymore, I don't think, or Michael's doesn't anyway. They were a cheaper option to Copics, and they worked fine too. They had like, you could either get a brush tip with a nib tip or like the nib with a chisel. I like the brush with the nib. Those are my favorite. And the biannual ones I bought off of Amazon have a brush and a chisel. I very rarely ever use a chisel unless I'm filling in a larger area. I did use it on the tree on this one the second time around, just so I wasn't going through over the same area too many times, because I found when I ink blended the lighter green on the darker green the first time, it kind of bled out a little too much because I was over coloring it. So I did a second layer of each color, and the second time I added with the chisel tip just to help me like just do a few swipes instead of, you know, swiping back and forth too many times to bleed out that color. I still wanted the contrast. For the trees, I added a little bit of white gel pen on the tips of the branches. I had it on the top too, but I didn't like the way it looked. So I just decided to use my adhesive eraser very lightly to see if it would get rid of it. It didn't get rid of it completely, but it did dull it down to a point where I could, you know, handle it, and then it was much better. I also added some Stardust Jelly Roll Pen atmospheric dots, as I call them, to the inside of the snow globe, and now I'm just using my acrylic paint and dotting tool to add in the, controlled snow. I added a few to the tree just so it looked like it was snowing in the tree. I don't see a point in adding it to the white because you don't really see it. You can somewhat see it up close, but I just usually don't bother. And I like that it had that little bit of extra snow so that you could tell that it was like, snow globe in action. And then for the sentiment, I decided to pull out, I think it's Mama Elephant's mini Merry Messages or something like that. I'll link them down below. They're just a bunch of little tiny sentiments for Christmas. And this one says, "Believe in the magic of Christmas," which I thought was very fitting both for this prompt and for this card. So I just stamped that with some Lawn Fawn's Forget Me Not ink onto some white cardstock, and I'm just going to prop that up with a little bit of foam tape from scrapbook.com. This is the 1/8 inch width tape. And that's pretty much our card for today, guys. I'll have another one around 6 p.m. tonight for this month, and I will link it at the end of this video in case you watch that one first before this one, and vice versa. But thanks for joining me for today, guys. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know your thoughts. And until next time, thanks, guys. Bye.